Every human being craves connection. We all want to love and be loved. To feel like we matter. To feel like we belong. Like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. The quality of our personal connections defines the quality of our lives. In recent years, the term connected has taken on a new meaning. Instead of describing a close relationship, it describes electronic access to billions of people and almost infinite data. Social media, in particular, has dramatically increased the number of ways and the number of people we communicate with. But is this new kind of connection really bringing us closer? Is it getting us what we need? Countless studies claim that with the increase in social media, there has been a corresponding increase in isolation, suicide, depression, and anxiety. Why is this happening? Marketers pay these platforms billions of dollars to influence our behavior. It's said that we who use social media aren't the customers. We're the product being sold. Supercomputers are programmed to discover not what helps us, not what's true, but what will keep us engaged. Studies show that false and misleading information generates much more interest than facts. And so it seems almost inevitable that we'll lose sight of the truth. These days, our information often comes from inaccurate sound bites, misinformation, misunderstanding, and half-truths. This breeds ignorance and division, arguments and fighting, and threatens to diminish our understanding of each other and our ability to solve problems. It's becoming increasingly clear that our modern electronic connections are no substitute for authentic human connection. If we aren't careful, our perception of reality will no longer be based on what's true. And without the truth, I fear our connection to each other is at risk. There are two paths before us. One where we continue to disconnect from the truth, leading to division, conflict, and isolation. Or one where we embrace the truth and choose compassion, love, unity, and peace. Since I was very young, I have believed in the incredible power of genuine human connection. The power of sitting down with someone, being present with them, and taking the time to understand them. In my childhood, I felt safe, cared for, and loved. I had a great family and friends and went to good public schools with great teachers. I spent a lot of time outdoors, playing and exploring nature. I was intensely curious with this incredible hunger to understand people, especially from different backgrounds. The day I turned 15, I got my first real job at Dairy Queen. I was in the kitchen cooking burgers, fries, and chicken sandwiches. This Dairy Queen was next to a mental health center, and a lot of the patients came in to have coffee. Many were lonely and homeless and seemed to feel down. I was so curious to get to know them. Their struggles seemed to forge a kind of character, grit, and determination that I admired. So during my breaks, I sat down and talked to them. They became my friends. But I also noticed that as I spent time with them, they began to cheer up. They began to take better care of themselves. I got to see at a young age the power of making a genuine connection. My desire to know these people caused them to feel seen, to feel valued, to feel understood. Our connection became a sort of soil in which we could grow, blossom, and become better versions of ourselves. We gave each other the greatest gift, the gift of our time, our care, our concern, and our compassion. I've always had the desire for truth, love, justice, and redemption. As I grew older, I ended up raising a family and becoming a lawyer. I was drawn to the law because it would reward my curiosity. Asking questions was at the heart of the job, getting to the essence, the truth of someone. After law school, I became a trial lawyer and eventually managing partner and CEO of a law firm. At that law firm, I developed a very special culture, and it was a culture of top-performing lawyers who were very, very empowered and allowed us to achieve pretty incredible results as a law firm. We were a very, very hard-working firm. We billed clients at a lower billable rate than any other law firm, but yet had higher profits than any other law firm in town. And the way we did that was to build a very special culture. Steve Ells, the founder of Chipotle and the CEO of Chipotle at that time, came into our law firm to talk to me about legal work that I was doing for Chipotle when Chipotle was a young startup company. And he used to come to the firm quite often, and when he came to the firm, he would notice that the culture was something he thought was very special. And he started to ask me, hey, how did you get all these people to want to work so hard, and they seem so happy, and they're so engaged, and they seem to really like each other, and get them not to want to leave your law firm? Well, the answer is, you create a culture that is so excellent, that supports them so much, and is so profitable to them, both emotionally and financially, that they don't want to leave. They don't want to go anywhere else. Steve Ells saw that. And he was the one, more than me actually, who said, you're not a lawyer. What you really are is a leader. He sort of challenged me, you know, since I believe, Monty, that what you really are is a leader, I think you should come to Chipotle, where we have thousands of people working now. And said, you know, I think that's going to be a way that you can leverage your leadership to do a lot more good for a lot more people. And over some years, I thought about it, and it infected my brain in a way I couldn't forget it. And I thought, you know what? I'll try that. Each of us is going to be elevated today and in the future by elevating the people around us. And this is the foundational principle of our culture at Chipotle. If you want to lead people to be the best version of themselves, there is no way you can do that if you don't know who you're leading. If you really get to know the people you're leading, what matters to them, what their goals are, what their personal vision is for their life, and if you create a vision that appeals to them personally, that will help them develop, but also has overlap, where achieving that same vision for them personally will also advance the organization's goals. Now you're in a place to empower a human being, but also help the company achieve incredible results. Each of us will be rewarded based on how effective we are at making the people around us better. I'm super confident we're going to do this because I know how capable all of you are. And how do I know how capable you are? Well, because first of all, I know lots of you. As I look back, the thing I loved most about my time was the connections I made with the people that I was leading. You know, these really deep connections that ended up being incredible friendships, that ended up being, you know, like creating a family, you know, around you. Yeah, this was not about me preaching. I mean, I really sat down with these people one-on-one, and just literally my goal was to get to know them. You know, my goal wasn't even to sit there and teach them anything. My goal was just to get to know them, find out what they believed in, find out what they loved, find out what they were like, and also find out what they liked about their job, what they liked about the equipment they worked with, what they liked about each other, what they liked about their manager. And by getting to know them deeply and understanding the answers to those questions, I learned so much about how to make Chipotle a better place. You will be changing people's lives. You will be uniting top performers and leading them on a journey where each of them will become the very best version of themselves because of you and your leadership. And they'll do it by committing to the people around them to make them the very best version of themselves. After almost 13 years, I retired from Chipotle and pursued my lifelong dream of becoming a pilot. I love the peace and tranquility of looking at our beautiful country from above. It got me thinking more about what can be done to help this place become even stronger, more united, a better place for all of us. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned in my life is that everyone has brilliance and wisdom to share. If you look at the entire country, if you go out and connect with the people in the country, okay, and help them to be at their very best so that they can bring the full fruits of their brilliance and wisdom and efforts to this country, what could be more powerful? I believe people are amazing. I believe in the power of people. I believe in the goodness of people. I don't really believe in my heart of hearts in bad people, I know there are people who have done horrible things. I'm not going to argue that point. But I think generally people either are good or deep inside want to be good. So my goal is to go out and explore this country, explore and get to know people from all different walks of life. And I also want to challenge myself to go get to know people who've been through the worst difficulties. I want to get to know people who have had it really rough lately. I want to look at them and find out, am I right to be so idealistic? Am I right to believe that our country can be excellent? Am I right to believe that in people? Am I right to believe in the human race? Or do I have it wrong? I might find that, okay, we had success at the law firm. Okay, we had success at Chipotle, but oh God, it's not going to work in the country. I might find that I'm rejected. I might find that my curiosity is met with anger, hatred. I might find people don't like me. I might find people think that I'm too idealistic and that they don't want to hear it. I might find out that my optimism is ill-founded and that maybe I should be more pessimistic. If I do learn that, that will hurt to learn that, because I feel good that I believe that this place is the best, the most incredible country that's ever been established, that it's got the greatest vision of any country in history, that we can accomplish amazing things as the United States, and not just for our country, but to make the world a better place. Is it possible to unite mankind and have them know that they're united? Is it possible to bring people together and have them relish in that togetherness? Is it possible to have people understand that division isn't the norm, but rather unity is the norm? Is it hopeless that we'll ever be a beautiful society? I want to go out with an open mind and discover it. I don't believe that's the case, but I'm going to go out with an open mind and actually find out what's the truth.
Off for a base, maybe that'll help a little bit.
That'd be great. 0 Hotel.
0 Hotel, Roger, fighting 090.
090, heading 0 Hotel.
Eagle Med 1, climb and maintain 12000. Eagle Med 1, contact approach on 1.
6504, 910, go ahead. Okay, autopilot. If I'm going to begin to explore human connection, it makes sense to me to start by talking to the first people to live on this continent. Arguably, the people who have endured the most pain and suffering of all people. People we seldom see or hear from, who have been here for thousands of years. What is their perspective on the world today? Just north of Montana's Glacier National Park, where jagged snow-covered peaks give way to vast open plains, lives the blood tribe of the Blackfoot Nation. place feels wide open, almost lonely in its vastness. Its lack of shelter from ceaseless cold winds reminds me how this ancient tribe has survived, endured, and even flourished for centuries. My father was a falconer who loved being out on the prairie. He raised me with a reverence for native people, the nobility and wisdom of their connection to the land, to animals, and to each other. He spoke about the exploitation and abuse native people suffered at the hands of a government of people who looked like me. So I've arrived here with some apprehension, but also curiosity and excitement. Modern news stories conflict with what I learned as a child. They portray a broken culture, marred by poverty, addiction, and struggle. But is that the whole story? Why aren't we more connected to the native people?
Talk is the root of all evil. This smudging is for protection. Protection that you're not going to be weakened by anybody talking bad about you. Actions speak louder than words. Utapi sin nitsitapi. I drive a bus. I pick up the middle school and the high school students. When they're gonna get off my bus, I will encourage them. Ikakimak. Try hard. Listen. Have a good day. We'll see you in the afternoon. You gotta have that energy, that motivation to get them to, I'm somebody. I'm not just a piece of garbage or junk, I'm somebody.
If you don't know about another culture and you're ignorant about it, chances are there's certain aspects about that culture that'll scare you because you're ignorant. You don't know what's going on, eh?
Yep.
And the average man, I don't know about all men, but I know myself personally, I'd trade in that emotion called fear for anger any day.
Right.
And so rather than be scared of something, you're pissed off at it and show resentment, eh? And so this is where I think a lot of the dissension and racism comes from, is just sheer ignorance. Unfortunately, being Native, we're kind of always the statistic, teenage pregnancy, suicide, poverty, alcohol and drug abuse. It's a very small percentage of Natives that are like that. But If you're ignorant, you're gonna base your whole opinion on what a native is based on the poor fella downtown suffering, or what you hear on the news as far as the town sites, and the town sites are a little rougher than the rural communities on reserve. Of course, media, that's what they jump all over. They don't want to hear a good story. Let's go out and make these people look bad again.
Yeah, right. Do you feel that the native culture is misunderstood by the outside world?
Yes, definitely. We're not all drunks, obviously. We're not all drug addicts. And you learn their backstory, and you realize that they're just like you.
We weren't in this area just for 200 years. We were here for thousands of years. We learned through trial and error all the things that work good for our people. Our deep understanding is that in this lifetime, it's about relationships. You know, our people say, think about making friends and relatives. It's not about how rich I am or how much I can take from another person. We like to be known for our generosity. In my culture, the most horrible thing you could be called is stingy. Everything that was given to me on the earth was a gift from the Creator, and this gift is not mine alone, you know. The Creator gave us magnificent gifts, abundance, and that abundance is why we all share. We have names for oil, we have names for gold, we have names for metal. But our people said, leave them in the ground, she needs them. We don't keep stuff for ourselves, you know, because that's not our way. If I have food, then I'm not gonna withhold it from somebody, especially if it's deer, elk, buffalo, then I share it with people. If I eat, then you should eat too.
How many dogs do you guys feed?
Pretty much the entire reserve's dogs.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, I wish I was joking about that, but
Is it really?
Yes, every single dog that you see on the street. And those are the usual customers. They follow me because they know who I am now.
Oh, that's funny.
So like, literally become the dog walker pretty much. Whatever we can do to provide food out in front of our gate, whatever dog comes around, and if we do have a little bit of food, we obviously will feed them. There we go.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Do you have a cat?
Yes, I do. It's for people who can't afford it.
Oh, okay.
So like, but we also get people who can afford it, just don't want to pay for it. Sometimes that gets a little annoying.
Yeah.
But what can we do? Because if they're not gonna buy dog food, who's gonna feed them?
Right.
So how I look at it is just that we're feeding dogs that are not ours, but somehow connected that they are ours, because we're the ones who are feeding them. People would drop off their dogs, like not just natives, like they would drop off their dogs and just like leave them here because
they figured they'd get cared for and then...
Yeah.
When the first white people came, they were really sickly. They had scurvy and all kinds of stuff. So our people doctored them. We felt sorry for them and we gave them a home. But they didn't ask us, well, how do you do this? How do you do this? What's your government? And, you know, they had this feeling that they were so superior and that we were just a bunch of people running around on the prairie. And they had longer guns.
It's really occurred to me that when the European settlers came to the United States, they came with more technology, more weapons, more, and they came and found a people who didn't have those things yet. But well, it's not a coincidence that people here didn't have those things. It's because they chose not to develop those things because those were things that would be harmful. Do you feel like a lot of people on the reserve feel a sense of resentment against the Canadians, the broader country of Canada?
I think so. In pretty well every Native I know, there's an inherent distrust of non-Natives.
Yeah.
And it's just because of all that's been lost. They look and they say, okay, what are you here to take?
I see.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you want from us this time? And I forget what grade it was, the grade level I was at when we picked up the books from the school. And the way the schools made it sound is, and when the settlers got here, the natives gave them land, like it was just, let's all go eat turkey and corn and live happily ever after. It never worked like that, so I think that in history they should be a little more honest about the motives of hero explorers such as Christopher Columbus and people like that. They should be a little more,
honest about what they were up to.
Yeah, like they were kind of self-serve. They were basically pirates.
Yeah, right.
Government-funded pirates.
Yeah.
And so I think they should be a little more honest about what really happened.
I found an immediate connection with Dallas, Miss Beverly, Aniskum, and AJ. My initial apprehension about how they'd receive me is completely gone. They've welcomed me not just into their stories, but into their hearts. 3 generations of people, unique and with different experiences. But there's something that binds them all together. Each of them seems burdened by the weight of their past. This is all your land, huh?
Yeah, I inherited from my grandfather. We want to save it for our kids and grandkids so they could use it,
Yeah.
This is my home. I survived our Indian residential schools. I went there probably when I was 6 years old. I went through a lot of abuse, Our hair was cut, We couldn't speak our language.
What happened if you did speak your language?
We get punished,
How would they
get
punish you?
strapped, your ears, like a shower that's, like hot showers, like you could see the steam, get kids who were being thrown into the showers.
Burned?
Yes.
Great big hypocritical pile of dung. These people were telling us by day, you have to pray, you have to believe in God. And these representatives of God, they were just all mean. They were molesting the kids. One of the saddest things that I saw this girl, she didn't have a mother. So she got left at the school a lot. We had those old-fashioned radiators. And I don't know what was in that nun's mind. She just took that little girl's hand and she stuck it and burnt her hand. I mean...
Burned her hand in the radiator?
Yeah, and I don't know why. When the first white people came, they said, you know, you're never gonna get these people to do what they want because they have very strong bonds with their children. So to get rid of that, they separated the children. Even to the point in the early 60s, the government, you know, because we were under their medical care, wrote letters to the hospitals telling the doctors not to allow women to breastfeed their children. So that bond will break.
I was scared, you know, taken away from my parents, my grandparents. That green house there,
Yeah.
that was where my grandparents lived, you know.
So you could see right out the window and see your home,
Yeah,
but you couldn't come home.
no. We had to do what the priests and the nuns, you know, what they ordered us to do.
And what was their goal?
To knock the Indian out of us.
Your dad was German, right?
Yeah.
Like
But he-
full-blooded German.
Yeah. In Germany, I don't know if you've ever heard that Hitler himself revered natives and revered the native way of life.
I didn't know that.
And so my dad got to America in the 60s, you know, searching for enlightenment and whatever else. He ended up coming north and meeting up with natives. That's where the last name Hungry Wolf comes from, because my actual last name should be Guterlein.
Seems like you got a different perspective than some other people I've talked to about just sort of the idealized notion of what native culture was hundreds of years ago. And I've seen a lot or read a lot about the goal of getting back to that the way it was in the old days. And when I mentioned that to you, you weren't as keen to getting back to those days.
No, not really. Growing up, and we had a cabin out in the woods with no electricity, no running water, no phone, no flushing toilet, and all the necessities, eh? So, like, basically that was as close to living the old style as I've ever gotten. Harsh, miserable life. I don't think it would have been the idyllic paradise or the native utopia that some people like to think it would have been. My brother was a real traditional guy. He had long hair. He never ever cut his hair, and he attended all the ceremonies, and he knew how to live off the land a hell of a lot better than I did, eh? But I'd also say that was one of his problems, is that I don't think he was born 200 years too late, you know. He was one of the guys that genuinely could have lived the old-fashioned way.
And would have liked it.
And would have liked it. And I'm not.
Yeah.
You know.
There's just something in the chip in your brain is just a little bit more modern, the way it thinks. Huh?
And yeah, so like, just for example, when we were kids and we started logging, we'd get paychecks, and Okan was a shy person. He was just fine out in the bush, but he was shy with people.
Yeah.
And so if he had any business to do on the phone, he'd tell me what he wanted and get me to make his phone call for him. If we had to go into the bank, cash our paychecks, he'd sign his out in the vehicle and send me in with him. But now when
With his check?
Yeah, with his check. But now if we went out in the wilderness, I walked behind him. The way I found him, he was totally traditionally dressed. His hair was all braided, his painted red.
He committed suicide.
Yeah.
How did that affect your family?
Not in a very good way.
Did it change the way you thought?
Well, of
Where you
course,
live?
I always looked up. You want to move along?
Okay. What kind of horse is he?
He's a American paint quarter horse.
He's wonderful. Look at him.
Hey, Jag. How are you?
Hi. Hi.
And this little guy over here.
Oh, look at him. Look at him.
He's got a halter, everything.
Oh, he's not yours?
No.
Oh, really? He's just visiting. Oh, he's a funny little guy.
I'm very proud of my mom's generation. They were never hugged. They were never told that they were loved. When you don't get shown love and you don't get shown careness, you don't know how to do those things. And when someone tries to start caring about you and your problems, obviously you don't know how to feel about it because you never had those feelings before.
Seeing what alcohol did to us at the time was just horrible. Our old people used to say, we don't die naturally, we die through alcohol.
So you're 12 years in the school. Didn't you have a lot of anger about that experience?
Yeah.
Rage?
I have to say yes.
What did you do with it? Where did that go?
I started abusing alcohol. Maybe to,
Numbing the feelings?
yeah, not think of that experience.
For years?
About 12 to 15 years, And it got me into trouble with the law, a lot of driving, like impaired driving, like that. I went to prison, and in prison, one night I was in my cell, and I was looking out my cell, and I was kind of looking home, where I felt like a higher power. And I made a vow to that being, if you can get me out of here, I promise to the rest of my life, I'll never drink again. I got out of prison on full parole and went to a treatment center, revealed a lot of my secrets, I had to admit, I had to surrender, to that disease the powerful disease of alcoholism. I really feel that if life's gonna change, people have to forgive. In the program that I used, you have to make amends to such people that you harmed, people that hurt you. I started riding bulls when I came out of treatment. a bull that outweighs you by 1,800 pounds. You're going to be getting on that bull. He's in the chute. You know, you're going to have that fear. But through your training, you can overcome that fear and start thinking, I'm going to ride this thing. I'm going to make a winning ride on this bull. That mindset, that attitude, positive attitude comes into play. So that adrenaline, you're pumped. I'm going to do this, you know. And that's what I did with alcohol. July of this year, I'll be celebrating 36 years of continuous sobriety.
Congratulations.
I've got a lot of people maybe will put me down, you know. It don't matter. You know, I've worked hard to get to where I'm at today. And nobody is going to take that away from me.
When I was living with my mom, I went to school almost every day. As soon as my mom left, my dad, he used to use drugs. He never forced me to go to school. I never learned how to read, so the kids picked up big words from the dictionary and call me slang, call me retard. So every day I was kind of scared to go to school. And it felt like I was the only one that was suffering from it. And as soon as my mom left, I had to suffer that, I guess, entirely alone, because if I tried telling my dad, he would have made a scene. I would stay in bed all the time, play games, because that was the only way I could escape from what was going on. And after my mom left, I couldn't do that anymore because my home was also unsafe.
But when you said it wasn't safe with your dad, was it just because he was using some drugs and stuff?
No,
What else was unsafe?
my brother. He did some things to me when I was really young. Four years since I've been here. This place was home, but to me it isn't anymore. I think I'm still afraid of this place. I wish none of those memories ever existed. Because now I can't come back here without crying. Or have an anxiety attack. Or thinking of really bad thoughts. I just wish I could live back those moments and change them. But I can't. That bike right there is actually my first ever bike. No one should ever live like this.
It is painful to witness the consequences of the destruction of a way of life that existed for thousands of years. Nearly all that Native people held sacred, rituals, relationships, hunting, and even their native language have been devastated by policies aimed at forcing them to assimilate to a life that doesn't make sense to them. But even as I feel deep compassion, I also feel great admiration. As I walk these lands and meet these people, I am moved by their intelligence, wisdom, forgiveness, and how they courageously persevere to grow and thrive in this modern world while still embracing their sacred identity.
Very important to hold on to who you are. My grandfather, Itzikskinistamik, Joe Young Pine, one of the best true all-around cowboys. Learned a lot from him. I'm kind of a fourth generation. I've got something what they had. So when I talk about my tradition, my values, my language, something that I'm very proud of.
I don't speak the language anywhere near as the way I'd like to, and it's slowly getting lost. They say Canada is a melting pot, and as we assimilate with everybody else, you know, you lose your culture and lose your identity. You go from being native to just being Canadian, I guess. In all honesty, the only way I'd see to eliminate like discrimination would be to start to eliminate rights. You know, like,
eliminate native rights.
Yep.
Just to make it a level playing field.
Make it a level playing field. Yep, because I mean, you look in a family and the favored child's always the one hated by the other kids. The controls have to be handed more over to natives. So education, like I'm saying, and then natives being able to go into self-governance and to be able to start taking care of our own assets off this reserve, creating our own employment, creating our own economy and society here on the reserve without having to rely on what's around us. Education is really important.
In my life, it's always been ignorance that ends up being an enemy.
People hear one side and they'll jump to their conclusion, never to find out. There's another side to this. Let me find out about this other side. So if people were able to do that, there'll be less conflict out there. You know the whole story.
The people should be careful with their words.
Exactly.
But the words have a lot of power.
Yes.
It seems to me that what it's going to take to unite people and create more of a connection and deeper respect and care and understanding is for a lot of leaders to emerge in all walks of life. Even if someone's just leading a very small group of people, setting the example.
Yes.
Because each of us, when we set a positive example, a powerfully positive example, each of us is a leader. Because someone's looking at us.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Someone's looking at us and saying, oh, that's a good way. Maybe I'll do more of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That each of us, everybody, can sort of try to emulate qualities that matter. Respect, care, love, understanding. Looking at someone, trying to open their heart and be vulnerable to them. Yeah. And experience the other person's heart.
Yeah. I really believe that, you know, you need to have an understanding and you need to have an open mind of your journey. You know, you never know who you're going to meet.
Discipline starts at home, education starts at home.
Yeah.
And if children aren't being properly raised or you got absentee parents, it just leads to problems in the future.
So you're committed to be that father to your kids who sets them up for success?
Yeah, I try to be.
I told my kids, collect old Fords, you'll never have enough money to do drugs.
I personally don't want to drive a truck like this too much anymore. I got 5 kids, I don't want any more. This one here is like a 1977 Ford Highboy. Nothing's show quality, I just want stuff to run good and be able to perform and work. My dad messed up my hair, listen to her.
My uncle came over one day. I asked him, how do you get over bad experiences? He said, we did it the native way. He gave me a list to do, and he said, you can fast, you can sweat, you can call a ceremony. When I was doing the fast, I realized I needed to forgive people. That was very hard for me because all those memories were starting to come back again. And this time they were more and more and more tense.
During the fast?
I just said to myself, every day you successfully not eat or not drink, you're getting closer to healing. I heard a voice say that, what happened to the little kid that my mom raised? I wasn't just doing it for myself anymore. I was doing it for my mom.
Yeah.
I want to show her my future. I want to make her so proud. I want to make everyone proud because they thought they saw something in me before I even saw it.
And yourself?
I forgave my mom. I forgave my dad for what he did. My brother, I just recently forgave him.
You know, vulnerability is, I think, the greatest strength. And I sort of think of an analogy of, you know, water. If there's a small lake and you throw a rock at it, well, the rock hits the lake, goes to the bottom, and the water just reseals just the way it was. It doesn't hurt the water. But if you throw a rock at it, a lake with ice on the top, it breaks the ice. So ice, which is harder and stronger, breaks. Water, which is more malleable and more vulnerable, doesn't. You know, so that's why I always think of that analogy when I think of what true strength is.
I also had to forgive myself, but that was the most hardest thing ever.
That's the hardest part, isn't it? Yeah.
And when I did, I felt so happy. I felt like thousands upon thousands of weights
Lifted from your shoulders.
I finally felt like my old self again. I finally felt like I was the same 6-year-old me running around and happy.
What incredible courage you've had to confront that stuff.
I was scared, but I also looked back and I saw as much people who supported me.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't alone.
During these many days with the Blood Tribe, I met beautiful people who continue to celebrate a full life while struggling in the aftermath of cultural genocide. Dallas warns us about the danger of harmful words. And Niskim teaches us that ignorance is a powerful enemy. AJ reminds us of the incredible potency of forgiveness. Because of their perseverance, hope endures in this place, as a faint but growing flame begins to light a room long blanketed with darkness. Their spirits find voice in beautiful songs, mysterious dances, and brave hearts. I witnessed incredible resilience, the never-ending desire to turn difficulties into wisdom and challenges into a brighter world. An undying belief that the world can still be a place of goodness, hope, and abundance. We are all leaders, whether we want to be or not, because each of us is setting an example that someone is watching. I think all of us can learn a lesson from the Blackfoot people, from how they've lived for thousands of years in harmony with animals and plants, soil and sky, to how they're now overcoming trauma and adversity. During my time here, I was reminded again that we are all one people, connected, brothers and sisters who can join hands and celebrate the beautifully diverse ways that we pursue our identical desires. the desire to be seen, understood, valued, and loved.